So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about, I love this, Dr. Mindy Pels. She's one of my favorites. I've been following her for a long time, but she talks about how the brain during perimenopause and then, of course, menopause, postmenopause actually rewires itself. The brain actually rewires itself and it starts to rely more on ketones than on sugar. And I thought this was really interesting because if our brain literally reorganizes itself for this time in our lives, and she talks about how we become more active members in community because we no longer are caregiving, we no longer are of childbearing age, and we get to this point where we are no longer using energies for menstrual cycles because that's an energy, right? Our body uses energy for a menstrual cycle. Our body uses energy, to have babies, and the list goes on and on. When our reproductive organs start to reorganize themselves, then we become creative in a different way. It actually frees up creative energies. And so I want to kind of reframe how we think of perimenopause and menopause. It's not a deterioration of what our bodies, it's actually a rebirth of our creative energies and of our focus. And they're now actually scientifically proving that the perimenopause and the menopause brain actually reorganizes itself so it no longer has to rely on sugars for energy. It can rely more on ketones. Ketones can be produced when you're in a fasting state. Your body can actually manufacture ketones. And what it does is it allows us to take on this leadership position in communities. We think about some of the stories we've heard about, the wise woman of the tribe, that was the medicine woman and everybody went to her because she was a community leader. So this time in our lives is not a time where everything's fallen apart. This time in our lives is a time of rebirth and refocus and opening up creative energies for so many new ventures in our life.
Exactly. And for that reason, I am really looking forward to menopause because I know that, from what I've read and what you're talking about right now, that our brain is going to reform. It's our time to reevaluate. It's a good time to make changes in your life, whether it's a career change or you want to take up a new hobby or artistic endeavor, anything like that. It's a time to find your purpose. And instead of rearing children, you are now focusing on you and your desires. And I think there's also you have time to look out for your community and create community as well, especially if that's something that's important to you. Some people may have the experience of rather being alone and being very introspective during this time. And that's a beautiful gift as well. So I think this is a time to deepen your spirituality. It's been proven so far that our intuition actually becomes more heightened during this time. And I think that's a beautiful gift when we give our hearts that opportunity to speak to us, or when we give our own selves the opportunity to let our hearts speak to us when we listen. So that is a time where your intuitive things will come to you intuitively. You may not know what it is or why it is or where it's coming from, but you have a deep sense of knowing. And I think when we women really tune into that, we are going to be more powerful as friends. We are going to be more powerful as healers. Not that we have the power to heal anybody, but we have the power to hold space for somebody so their body can do its own healing, whether that is through talking about nutrition, whether that is visiting a massage therapist. Reiki comes up a lot in the readings that I'm doing for women going through or who are in menopause to help to connect to their intuitive feelings, to move energy through and to welcome new energy and to balance the chakras. And they even recommended taking a Reiki 1 training because it's all about self-love and self-healing. And I'm a Reiki 2 practitioner. I love being able to be a helper to help somebody feel. And it's one of the things. I had Reiki many years ago and it clicked in my mind. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to help people, or one of the ways I want to help people. So I do believe that this is a time of great growth and great introspection, and it holds a lot of power. What do you think,
love that.
Stephanie?
Well, I love that because I think we do spend a lot of time caregiving, and everything is external, right? All of our energy, time, attention, and focus is external, taking care of other people's wants, other people's needs, whether that's children, whether that's work, whether that's community. All of those are beautiful things, and nobody wants to take those away, but it's allowing that energy to swing back inward and focus on self in the most beautiful way. Because when a woman's cup runneth over, when she fills up her cup, with all of that self-focus and self-love that you were talking about and self-worth, when her cup fills up and it runneth over to everybody that's in her circle. I mean, it's not a selfish thing. I think we tend to think of self-care as being selfish. And it's one of the things that I want to reframe, is that this inward focus is probably the most benevolent thing that you can do for your family, for your community, for the planet at large, is to connect inwardly so that you have the resources to then express outwardly in a beautiful way, not out of obligation, but out of inspiration. And I think that's really big. And I don't think we give too many people the opportunity to move from a place of inspiration. There's so much that has to be done, so we don't have a lot of time to move from that place of inspiration. So I love that you talked about Reiki as being a self-worth thing.